another set of 10 questions for your PMI-ACP exam preparation. When I develop these questions, I don't limit my scope for exam alone, else I can just focus on tricks which can help you finding the right option. But I focus more on developing the better understanding of Agile, which should be useful for your day-to-day Agile project management and as well as for your interview-related needs when you go for those kind of situations. Now we have already posted the 20 questions. You can find the link in our description if you missed watching them. I'm starting this video with the question number 21. You are an Agile practitioner leading a cross-functional team developing a new mobile app for real-time customer support. The app is an innovative solution with no existing example in the market, and there is a significant uncertainty regarding customer needs and technology feasibility. A key stakeholder insists that the first product increment should be comprehensive enough to establish clear market leadership in the emerging space. So we understand the space technology is emerging, lots of uncertainty, no market leader. At the same time, stakeholder is hoping that we come up with a comprehensive solution which can establish ourselves as a market leader. As an Agile practitioner, what should you do recommend to balance the stakeholder expectation and Agile principles? Let's see the option. Option A, collaborate with the stakeholder to build a detailed business case and conduct extensive market research, delaying development until all uncertainties are addressed. So word collaboration is good, but you can see that it is clearly focusing on big bang analysis, predictive life cycle-ish approach, because we know things are uncertain. Doing market research will also not be able to provide the whole information. So we flag this because it is focusing on waterfall way of working. Option B, work closely with the stakeholders to define complete feature set and plan a comprehensive initial release aimed at creating a big impact and securing market leadership. Makes sense? In a way, it has some good element and some risky element. One good element is it is talking about understanding what all features we need. Yes. At the same time, it is also giving a little bit sense of predictive planning, that we will plan all the features and we will create a release and it will create as a market leadership. The question is clearly indicating the market is emerging, the technology is emerging. So you probably will not be able to come up with those feature set in too much in advance. Yeah. So there is a risk attached to it. Let's see option C. Highlight the benefit of starting with a lightweight MVP to test assumptions, gather real-world feedback, and iteratively refine the app to meet market needs effectively. That seems to be a great option because it is focusing on early discovery, it is focusing on fast feedback loop, it is focusing on be open for future changes. So that way it is incorporating various ideas which makes our team and our product adaptive. So this seems to be a great option. Option D, recommend stakeholder training on Agile principles and incremental delivery to align their expectation with Agile ways of working. So it is okay, yeah, it is nothing wrong with recommending stakeholders for going for a training, but we are diverting from the main issue. Yes, it could be that stakeholders are lacking the Agile understanding. So I would say this is a relatively a close option than A and B. A and B were clearly focusing on waterfallish approach, easy to discard. C is directly addressing the problem, bringing the term MVP, focusing on validating assumption, very great idea. D is talking about creating Agile mindset in the stakeholders. So probably they will understand like a C option. So since it's an indirect approach and we don't see exactly it's a matter of a training, the stakeholder may be already trained, they may need to be coached rather than trained. That could be the situation. So I go with option C in this particular situation. So here we can move forward. And now this particular question can map to the Agile mindset domain. Yeah. And the mindset domain, 3 tasks are very clearly mapped here. Experiment early because it is focusing on MVP, help us in doing early experimentation. That's the whole idea of Agile. Shortening feedback loops. So we want to take the feedback because we want to go to the market and understand how customers are reacting to it. And we do want to be open for future changes. We are not going in a predictive manner. So all these 3 tasks are connected to this particular question. Question number 22. As an Agile practitioner, you are leading a team working on product with significant uncertainties about the technology to be used. Team members express frustration about the lack of clarity regarding solution and find it difficult to estimate project timelines. How would you address this situation? So the question is showing technological uncertainty. Question is not much clear about or giving indication about the requirement or uses uncertainty, but it is showing that team members are finding difficult to estimate. That is a signal coming in. So what should you do as a agile practitioner? Option A, take sign off on the requirement to ensure clarity on at least on the scope and estimate timeline based on similar industry projects. So it is saying predictive lifecycle approach for sure, because you are focusing on let us baseline the requirement. And if you are unable to estimate, let me take estimation from somewhere else, which is an industry standard, and we'll follow with that. Yeah. So I can put it aside. Option B, follow an iterative approach and run experimental spikes in the initial iterations to explore and gain more understanding of the technology. Yes, early experimentation, fast feedback. That's the whole idea. So we are running and creating an environment that, okay, let's do some technological exploration, and that will help us in being more certain about our future work. Seems to be a great option. Option C, add a significant contingency buffer to the estimate to account for high level of uncertainty in the project. Predictive lifecycle approach, you are saying that yes, predictive lifecycle will say that only that if you have more uncertainty, you need to put more contingencies because you need to have a forecast. In case of adaptive way of working, we may need contingency and we will discover it. We don't have to plan it all in advance. So I don't go with option C because it is showing me a predictive lifecycle approach. Option D, involve technical experts, assign them ownership of the estimate and making them accountable for ensuring their accuracy. Possible, yeah, it can be done in some environment of the organization, especially from an interview purpose. But when we are focusing on PMI-ACP exam, our general agile way of working, since the team has to implement it later on, the team should be empowered to estimate and plan their work. Yeah. So I should be always careful when the planning and solutioning responsibility or accountability is moving away from the team. Yeah. They are the one who should be doing it, not someone who is a technical architect. So we go with option B in this particular situation. We need to follow iterative approach. That's a good name. Focus on experimentation as well. This is mapping to your task experiment early and shortening the feedback loop. Question number 23. You are managing a release planning session for a product that spans 4 iterations involving 2 agile teams working on different components. The overall integration and testing are estimated to take 2 weeks. How would you recommend managing the iterations to ensure timely delivery and seamless integration? Yeah, that's an interesting thing. 4 releases, 2 teams, so multi-team agile project. Yeah. Option 1, focus on developing all the features in first 3 iterations and with regular team level demos, leave iteration 4 for integration and testing. Yeah, so it is focusing on, like, you may do some kind of hardening iteration or hardening sprint or whatever word you use. So let's finish our development in 3 iterations and then we do the final iteration as a development and testing, integration and testing. You know, it's not a good idea, not at all, because it is delaying your feedback. That's the whole idea. So we should be doing early feedback. Now somebody will say feedback is already coming because team is giving regular demo, team level demos are happening. Only integration demo is getting, or integration is getting pushed to the 4th iteration. That is also an essential feedback thing. When we integrate, we may discover some new information as well. Let's see other options. We may come back if we don't find anything relevant. Option B, ensure integration happens every iteration and spread the testing and integration effort evenly across 4 iterations. So early feedback, yeah, shifting the testing left, bringing the verification and even taking feedback from the stakeholders as early as possible. And if you go with this idea, that seems to be the great point. Option B looks great there. Option C, engage with stakeholders in the planning session to determine the most feasible approach based on readiness needs of product during release. So this is a more like a technical and agile side decision. Stakeholder may not have much insight about how should we do it. In a way, C looks good. I would say I will collaboratively figure it out. But the important point is in the C, we are focusing more on stakeholders. Yes, stakeholder can include team also, but as a overall agile practice, whenever I'm sensing this question, I would say that it is something bringing a question mark on feedback delayed. I won't say that we will do as per the stakeholder needs. Stakeholder may tell that we want to do integration at the end of work only, but I as an agile practitioner, I as an agile coach. Yeah. So when I give a PMI-ACP exam, I consider myself agile coach, scrum master, project manager, product owner, all in one. Yeah. Someone who is expected to be agile expert, someone who is guiding stakeholders and team to do the right thing. So I definitely want to recommend a frequent integration rather than relying on what stakeholder want, because it's an approach which is more technical side. It's not something business requirement prioritization. It's more about how do we do our thing. So me and my team has to figure it out. Stakeholders, we will just educate them as per our value, which we see in the work. Option D, plan integration as a separate activity post iteration 4, ensuring that all development work is completed before iteration and testing begins. So it is more or less like option A only. The difference between option A and D is option A was saying do everything in a 3 iteration and do the 4th iteration, then you do integration. Option D is saying maybe do your development for 4 iteration and plan another iteration for the integration and testing purpose. Both are not the great option. Out of B and C, I am choosing B because it is more specific, focusing on early feedback practice, not bringing the openness or variability, and clearly focusing on one of the agile mindset principles, which focuses on early integration and early feedback. So we go with option B in this particular case. Now this question can be mapped to early feedbacks, experiment early and shortening the feedback loops, because overall idea is fast feedback for us. Yes, integration is also a feedback. Question number 24. During an iteration review, stakeholders express confusion about the target customer for the demonstrated feature. Some stakeholder focuses on young people using the application, while other focus on older people. The misalignment has led to unclear feedback and conflicting priorities. How can this problem be avoided in the future? So it's like, who is going to use our application? And looks like our stakeholders are confused about it, or they don't have an alignment about it. So what should I do as an agile practitioner so that these things does not get repeated? I might be playing a role of a product owner in this case. Option A, ensure clear definition of features by including detailed acceptance criteria to align expectation. Not a bad idea. You should have a clarity about acceptance criteria, so such kind of confusions should be minimized. Yeah, so I would consider this is a good option. Option B, revisit the target persona for application and ensure all stakeholders agree on a common understanding of the target audience. Also a good idea. You need to focus on, have an alignment on persona before we go to features or user story. Who is the target? Yeah, what kind of typical user we are focusing on? Looks good. Option C, increase the frequency of demos, conducting them more often than iteration review to catch misalignment early. Great idea. Working software is the real measurement of the progress. That's also a good idea. So looks like all are great idea here. Option D, ask the product owner and the team to collaborate on defining detailed wireframe to provide a shared visual reference for the feature. Also a good idea. Yeah. Now, when you get many good ideas, then you need to focus on which one is starting in the beginning and which one is directly addressing the core issue. So how do I, if I have to sequence all these 4 ideas, what will be the sequence? Which should become as a number 1? Now, what is the first action I have to take? So the confusion the question is showing is about, let's go back to the question. From an agile practice perspective, all 4 are good agile practices. Yeah, they all are good agile practices. Now I'm seeing the question which is focusing on confusion related to understanding of who is our target user. And that particular thing is clearly coming in the option B, which is focusing on user personas. So after having a clear understanding of user personas, I may want to focus on defining the feature with acceptance criteria well. I want to make sure that I also create wireframe well and have an agreement with the stakeholders. And as soon as the feature gets done, I take a demo. Yeah. So I do that way, but I need to start involving my stakeholders and customers as early as possible. So involving them in a feature acceptance, or in the wireframe is still a late, compared to, rather than first involving them to be a clear understanding of user personas. So this way, I feel this was a little tricky because it had helped us in seeing things in a different manner. So this particular question is again mapped to experiment early and shorten your feedback loop. That's the task which is focused in today's video. Question number 25. You are part of a team managing a website where a specific group of users previously highly active has recently shown a significant decline in visits. The team and stakeholders are unsure why this is happening and want to address the issue. As an Agile practitioner, how would you approach understanding the root cause of this decline? So some type of user used to come, but they stopped coming nowadays, or they are coming less frequently nowadays. You need to figure it out why it is happening. Option A, organize a workshop with the team and the stakeholders to collaboratively perform empathy mapping for the user group, explore their thoughts, feelings, and pain point. Looks great. Empathy mapping is a good design thinking tool, which is mentioned in your content as well. So user personas, empathy mapping, user story mapping, user journey mapping, they are good design thinking tools which help us in doing iterative exploration of our requirements. So option A looks great. Option B, conduct stakeholder interview to gather their opinion on what might have caused the drop in the user visit and use those insights to plan the next step. I would say good idea, but this is already covered in A. When I conduct the interview, ultimately I will go into the empathy map. It's more structured. A is more structured than B, and it includes B. So I stick to A. Option C, experiment with the new features designed to re-engage with the user group and see which one resonate best. Not a bad idea, but I better do a little empathy mapping before I do a kind of A/B testing or experimentation where I put some features, because it will delay my feedback loop. I need to focus on involving or identifying things early. And another important problem with the C is, though it's a good Agile practice, it is not addressing the point which is discussed in the question. The question is talking about that people are visiting less. So you want to find out the root cause of it. So that way, it is a solution of that problem rather than a root cause of the problem. Option D, study other applications in your industry to see what strategies they are employing and replicate their approach. Possible. It is more like benchmarking and study. But in this particular case, if I have to choose the tool, empathy mapping looks great, because benchmarking is not talking about a particular type of users not coming in. Yes, it may give me some right idea, but that is maybe a second level thing I can do. But first I need to do an empathy mapping. So that way, the option A is the winner option here. I can go with this particular option. This particular question is also mapping to shorten feedback loop and embracing the change. Question number 26. You are leading an Agile team that has completed release planning for an upcoming product launch. The release plan includes multiple iterations with clearly defined features. Okay. During the first iteration, a stakeholder approaches the team with additional requirements to be included in the release. Okay. As an Agile practitioner, what should you do? How do you handle it? So we have a release plan made with a fair understanding of the features. You want to finish them in 4 iterations. And now in the first iteration itself, something new is coming in. Multiple iterations. So not 4 iterations, multiple iterations, what they are saying is. Okay. Option A suggests deferring the requested change to a future release to ensure the current plan is delivered as original committed. May looks good, but it's a waterfallish thinking. If this question was coming more on a sprint, then I probably go with option A, because I want to make sure the sprint goals remains more focused, and we don't want to fluctuate in our sprint goals during or iterations during the iteration alone. But this question is about the release, and we are not thinking of freezing everything for the release. So I won't say that, don't disturb me for the release, we'll talk about it later. If I'm doing it, then I'm not applying the Agile principle of responding to the change. So I need to respond to the change rather than follow the plan. So I need to find out something. So option A, I put it aside. Option B, accept the change immediately and revise the release plan by adding more iteration to accommodate the delay. That is also a little too jumping to the conclusion. So whenever we are doing PMI-ACP exam or any competitor like PMP or any other exam as well, it is always risky to directly accept or directly reject. So option A was saying, let's decide, let's do it later. Option B is saying, let's do it. Probably I need to see. They have proposed a feature. The agile process promotes change for customer competitive advantage. That's an important element in our agile principle. It is just not that we keep changing. We need to see customer competitive advantage as well. Yes, stakeholder believes something, but we need to further evaluate if we get the option in the question. Option C, ask the stakeholder to identify which existing requirement can be removed or deprioritized to make the space for new one without impacting the release timeline. It could be a practice, but this situation is not showing that you must adhere to the release timeline and you need to compromise only. There is a possibility of priority, but the question is not very clearly showing that. Option D, acknowledge the stakeholder request and review it during backlog refinement session with the stakeholders and the team to collaboratively evaluate the impact on value, risk, and timeline. Great. Yeah, it's the perfect thing to do. These are the things we want to discuss as a backlog refinement process. It could be a meeting, it could be a discussion, and it's just not a one stakeholder taking the call. I need to involve all the appropriate one who needs to be there to finalize this particular decision. So that way, I believe this is easy choice, provided the participant who is giving the exam go till the option D. Yeah, when you choose something as a ABC, which are looking probably a nice option, some of them, then you misreading the last option in your question. So we are focusing on embracing change. That's something you always need to keep in mind when you are giving the exam related to PMI ACP. Okay, question number 27. You are leading an agile team that has recently transitioned from working in an office to working remotely. Okay. Previously, daily stand-ups were conducted in person at the start of the day, and all team members attended consistently. Since moving to remote work, several challenges have emerged, such as time zone difference, technical issues, and difficulty in active participation during virtual meetings. Okay. As an agile practitioner, how would you address these challenges? So you can assume that whenever the people are going to remote locations, they may end up into different time zone also. Maybe in your country, you only have one time zone. Yeah, like in our country, India. But you can assume that there are countries like US, Indonesia, there are many such countries where people move. They may move to a place where time zone may start maybe different. Yeah, in the same country, you have a different time zone. So the people movement is also resulting into time zone difference, technical challenges, and other problems. So as an agile practitioner, how would you handle it? Option A, reiterate the value of current daily stand-up format and ask team members to adjust to virtual working by adhering to the original schedule. What is missing here? Responding to the change. What is missing here is growth mindset. It is like we had an agreement, we need to follow the agreement, doesn't matter you were face to face or virtual. I need to be flexible all the time. I as a leader, I as a coach always need to see what we learn new. So option A definitely not there in the list of possible answers. Option B, suggest conducting asynchronous update via a shared document or a collaboration tool instead of holding the live daily stand-up to accommodate remote challenges. Now, say you may end up doing these kind of stuff. Yeah, there is a possibility. But in general, by default, I don't jump to that particular answer as a right answer because I believe interactive communication has a significant value. It is not showing that you don't even have an overlap in your time zone. Yeah. So the challenge should be significantly high where I realize that we are not going to do any interactive communication and we will just follow on some asynchronous mode of a communication. So I look for some more option rather than just jumping to option B. Option C, proposed revisiting the team working agreement to collaboratively adapt the daily stand-up for remote work, including discussing format, timings, and tools to address the team's need. Perfect idea. I take this problem to my team. I may do it in a retrospective meeting. Yeah, that's a good place. If the sprint is running, I probably don't want to disturb in between. That's something also I keep in mind, but I am engaging with my team to find out how should we handle this particular situation. Great idea. Option D, encourage team members to use other communication channel throughout the day to share updates, reduce reliance on the daily stand-up as the main discussion forum. Great idea. Nothing wrong. As an agile practice, great idea. But this question is about managing the daily stand-up, yeah, and challenges which you are facing with the daily stand-up. So I better stick to the point which is asked in the question. And that way I can go back and say, yes, it is easy for me to find out option C is the right answer. Yeah, so this is how we can go with this particular choice. This is overall focusing on growth mindset, always trying to improve, learn, and taking feedback, be it with the help of retrospective or be it directly coming based on the suggestion. But I follow the appropriate process of doing it for the feedback and understanding how should we accommodate that. Question number 28. After reviewing the impact of past releases, some stakeholders express concerns about how value estimates are assigned to features. They highlight discrepancies between expected and observed outcomes, questioning the team's ability to deliver value consistently. As an agile practitioner, how would you address these concerns to improve confidence in the future value delivery? Yeah, tricky question related to product set as well, product domain as well, though we are more focusing on agile mindset, but this also touches the product domain. So it's like you have been prioritizing features, you have been prioritizing user stories as a team, as agile practitioners, and then stakeholders, after observing few releases, they are saying, guys, you were prioritizing these features as a high value thing, but we don't see a value. Yeah, so what do you do? What do you do? This doesn't happen again, and you have a better communication with your stakeholder, agreement with your stakeholder. Yeah, tricky thing. Option A, recommend revisiting the prioritization approach to include a broader range of inputs and perspective from stakeholder, ensuring value estimation is more inclusive. Not at all a bad idea. We can find out, oh, we missed a few things. Let's include some more criteria when we are doing prioritization. Hopefully that will make better alignment with the future value. Yeah, good option. Option B, propose creating a benefit hypothesis for each feature to ensure assumptions are clearly defined, tracked, and validated against observed outcome post-release. That seems to be directly addressing the issue, which is focusing on that let's not just focus on prioritization alone, focus on complete approach of validation of your prioritization. And hopefully with that validation, you revisit your prioritization process as well. So this particular thing is not just focusing on the problem of prioritization, but it is starting from the problem of really tracking what we have delivered rather than someone comes and report to us. Yeah, so that looks a good idea. So A and B, we can compare them later, but both are looking good. Yeah, I like B more, but we will see. Option C, involve the concerned stakeholder in the prioritization process to ensure their perspectives are reflected in the decision making for upcoming features. In a way, not at all a bad idea, but this is covered in A and B. Yeah, it is basically talking about these people are making some feedbacks. Why don't we involve them next time when we do the prioritization? But it is not about these people making feedback. It is more about, do we have a right tracking of what we are thinking of a value and what we are getting as a value? And do we take feedback from there? That's the bigger problem. Even if we involve these guys, they may not be able to give that feedback as well. Yeah, they are not. The question is not showing these people are expert. They can really tell you what is the right value. They are just saying that we don't see the value coming out. Yeah, I can see when I'm seeing the historical data, but I may not be able to forecast the future data. So I consider C as a least preferred option as of now. Option D, reassure stakeholder that value discrepancies are normal in agile project and suggest monitoring metrics only after the product is fully developed. Fully developed is a little risky thing. Yes, there could be a value discrepancies. It's normal. Yeah, it can happen. But we need to do something about it. I can't just justify that, in agile, we don't know what will be the value. We will continue doing what we are doing. You wait for the whole project to finish. Not at all a good idea. So I can ignore C and D. Now I come back to A and B. So the whole idea of B is also matching to the lean thinking or the lean startup mindset, which you see in your exam content outline as well, which focuses on that you need to identify the requirement feature, you need to make a hypothesis about the benefit, and then you need to make sure those benefits are getting realized. And when you have that, you take the feedback in account, and that can create a better overall understanding of value realization. So because of that reason, I go with option B rather than focusing on option A, which is just focusing on let's do a prioritization better, but you need to learn what is happening before you do a prioritization better. You just can't say we will have few more feedbacks, broader range, but here it is more specifically addressing this particular problem. Yeah, you may have a disagreement, share your comment in the comment area of this video. We can talk. Again, this is just an opinion. The right answer varies. Yeah, but if you just develop this mindset, the PMI-ACP will definitely easy for you. So we are focusing on shortening the feedback loop. Question number 29. So as you are starting a new project and the team is eager to begin development, as an agile practitioner, how would you ensure effective stakeholder engagement? Okay, yeah, new project is getting started. Option A, start the new iteration, first iteration with the team and work with the stakeholders one-on-one during the iteration to gather feedback. Yeah, possible candidate option. Option B, announce the start of the project and invite all stakeholders to join the first iteration review meeting to provide feedback. Yeah. So yes, you can let them know and the first iteration. So the whole idea is, can I involve them early? That's the whole idea, because in my exam content outline, I have learned the stakeholder need to be involved as early as possible. So why to wait for stakeholder review meeting? Yeah, that's the problem with the B. A is talking about one-on-one involvement. Again, it may not be bringing the collaborative shared understanding. Let's go with option C. Conduct a project kickoff meeting to align all stakeholders and the team on the vision, goal, and approach before starting the iteration. Not at all a bad idea. We want to have a common understanding of user persona, the overall product vision, and the sooner we develop it, the better it is, because whole idea is early involvement, not after first iteration involvement. Option C looks good. Option D, ensure the stakeholders have reviewed and understood the project charter and agile approach before starting development. In a way, yes, project charter should be shared, but we want to have more interactive and collaborative approach. The charter is a pull communication. Maybe you have a charter available, stakeholders, please read it. But I need to have a common understanding before I invite them in iteration reviews. Yeah. So option C focuses on creating the right starting point where we start with our common understanding with a kickoff meeting. Yeah. Great. Shortening the feedback loop, the sooner you involve the stakeholder, the better it is. Question number 30. As an agile practitioner, you observe that your team is fully occupied with delivering planned work during iterations and consistently meeting iteration goals. Great. Stakeholders appreciate the team's productivity, but opportunity for learning, experimentation, and improvements are being missed. What should be your next action? So as an agile leader, as an agile coach, as an agile practitioner, I am worried about my team learning, my team innovation as well, because I want to create a good learning, innovative environment so that we discover new things, we cultivate growth mindset. That is my goal. Now I see that delivery is happening, stakeholders are happy, but innovation and cultivation of the growth mindset may be getting low priority. How should I bring that in action? That's the focus on me. I think more like an agile coach when I'm doing PMI-ACP exam. So how should I guide my team to bring the focus back? Option A, allocate dedicated time during each iteration for team members to experiment with the new ideas, approach, and improvements. Not a bad idea. So having a capacity allocation for, that's the word sometimes you use in the agile literature, that you allocate some percentage of capacity to different kind of work. Yeah, you will hear this word in a lean terminology as well, class of work or different work item types. So for a given work item type, I define a particular capacity and I say, okay guys, you need to do this much amount of innovative work in a given iteration. You can decide what you want to do. Looks a great idea. Option B, focus on completing planned work as a highest priority and encourage team members to explore innovation in their own time outside the working hours. I can promote that. I do promote learning. Yeah, that's an idea. But when I'm dealing with the PMI-ACP exam, this may also comes up. It is becoming like a burden to the people, and it remain as a low priority thing, because it is not like from an organization, from a leadership perspective, I am giving a clear promotion for innovation. I'm just saying, why don't you study something beyond your office hours? Yeah, not a great idea. And going beyond office hours in agile world, sustainable pace will become a question mark. I'm not talking about what is happening in the organization. So you try to not to strike out the agile principle of where teams are expected to work on a sustainable pace. So ignore option B. Option C, identify a few team members who are more skilled in innovation work and make them responsible for driving innovation. So say in general, you always try to avoid where you have, say, separation in the team. In the real world, it depends upon what kind of people you have and how do you handle those kind of situation. But when you are dealing with the exam, you focus on creating an environment where everyone's are involved, rather than creating compartmentalization. So option C is saying create a silo. You don't do that. You go with the whole cross-functional team. Option D, schedule an innovation focused iteration after every 4 iterations, allowing the entire team to experiment and improve without pressuring for delivering planned work. Now, sometimes it looks good, and some framework has these kind of practices also, where you run few iterations and you take a one pause iteration where you innovate more. And even in those frameworks also, some amount of innovations are done throughout. It is not that you postponed everything for that 4th iteration. That 4th iteration, you may do some special more event, but you don't have to like schedule it as a separate activity. Because the idea is we should be investing in learning and continuous improvement all the time. Yeah. So when you are dealing with the PMI-ACP exam, you believe as a leader that I should be giving time and space for innovation all the time. Yeah. And I should be balancing my team's productivity and innovation on a regular basis so that my team sustains and my productivity also sustains, and we provide long-term business value to our stakeholders. So with that mindset, which option wins? Option A. Allocate dedicated time during each iteration to the team members to experiment the new ideas. So this is something we will be focusing on in case of our question number 30. So this also focuses on your early experimentation, experiment as early as possible, and embracing the change. So if you're looking for some more dedicated assistance for your PMI-ACP exam, you can check our website. We do have a complete PMI-ACP assistance program. Since we are PMI registered education provider, we follow PMI content, which covers the complete ECO, and it provides you 28 hours of live class and lots of video content, which not only help you to get ready for PMI-ACP exam, but ensures that you develop agile mindset to work as a coach, work as a Scrum Master, and a good amount of skills related to the product ownership as well. So check more videos coming soon on this particular channel.